guys, welcome back to Life on the Wrist. Today I thought we would go over some of my favorite watches from brands that perhaps you haven't come across, you haven't heard of. I think it'd be an interesting way for you to kind of educate yourself on some other brands, because it seems that there's always a pattern of watch companies that people talk about. A lot of the times it's Rolex, Audemars Piguet, Patek Philippe, and it kind of becomes a little bit mundane talking about Omega and Rolex all the time. So I thought I would talk about three brands that perhaps you don't know, you haven't heard of, or perhaps you haven't seen them on Instagram or other places online. And I'm going to give you three of my favorite watches from these companies. So that's going to be the topic for today. But before we get into that, be sure to smash that like button for us if you want to make sure that other people are able to see these watches from companies that they probably haven't heard of. Also, right near that like button is the subscribe button, so you should subscribe to our channel if you like videos about watches. So the first company that I want to go over is a company named Schwarz-Etienne. We actually have created a video about the watch we are going to discuss today, about that Schwarz-Etienne created. It was actually released at Baselworld in 2019, and we covered Baselworld quite extensively last year. Unfortunately, this year, because of the coronavirus, we won't be able to cover it, at least as of right now. So, but last year we covered Schwarz-Etienne and their Ode to the 70s watch. For those of you who don't know Schwarz-Etienne, which I'm assuming is the majority of you, or perhaps you do, that's why you clicked on the video. Schwarz-Etienne is a company that was founded in 1902 by Paul Arthur Schwarz and his wife Olga Etienne, and obviously the name is a combination of their surnames. They're a Neuchâtel based watch company. Neuchâtel is in the French part of Switzerland, which is where a lot of the watch manufacturers are located. And earlier in the inception of the company, they were a manufacturer of mechanical movements, and they were produced and sold under other names, not Schwarz-Etienne. And then later in the history of the company, they started creating watches of their own, and like I said, the Ode to the 70s is one of those watches. It was introduced at Baselworld in 2019, and it's essentially a 44mm white gold, 18 karat white gold watch. It's a very distinct watch when it comes to the way it looks. Obviously, if it's called Ode to the 70s, it takes a lot of its inspiration from the 1970s. And it has this very groovy dial, which is actually made out of enamel with a Champlevé technique. Obviously, you see all these multicolors on the dial. And if you look at 9 o'clock, there's actually a micro-rotor that says Peace and Love and Ode to the 70s on it. And it has 4 colors on that micro-rotor. And then if you look at 1 o'clock, you see this really beautiful tourbillon staring back at you. The strap is made out of blue jean, and it's got a white gold, 18 karat white gold buckle that folds on the other side of it. I think this is a really cool watch, and a company that should get a lot of recognition for at least being bold with this type of design. I think this is just having fun with watchmaking and producing things that you actually are going to enjoy. And I think that it doesn't have the case designs that are typical of the 1970s, but I think you can, it's still, with all its groovy colors, it definitely shows that the 1970s coming through in this watch. So that's the first watch, and the first watch company that I think you should check out. Definitely check out Schwarz-Etienne, because some of their other watches are really cool and very innovative. They focus on a lot of high-end watch manufacturing techniques, so definitely check them out. The second watch is from a company, perhaps you have heard of them. They're coming a little bit more into the mainstream. It's Autodromo. Autodromo was founded more recently, and they're trying to bring a modern aesthetic and an affordable watch that takes its design cues from classic car aesthetics. So the watch that I'm going to be discussing today is the Group B Series 2 Automatic. This is named after an era of motorsports that from 1982 to 1986, which is kind of considered a really great time period for using different types of exotic materials. So this watch is a homage to the technical advancements that came about during this time period of exotic materials. The watch measures 39mm in diameter. It's actually made out of titanium, so it's relatively light. It's running on a Miyota 9015 movement, so powerhouse movement, mass-produced movement. But I really like the aesthetics of this watch. It looks like it has an integrated bracelet, so it really is a true 80s case design as well. If you compare it to some of the other watches that came out of the 80s, I think this is a good example of a watch that kind of seamlessly builds into each other. If you turn it over and look at how the clasp integrates with the actual bracelet, you can't really see it, so it's almost this one smooth line throughout the entire watch, and that's probably a testament to the cars of that era. So it's a cool watch, and Autodromo does create some really cool pieces. I think there's been some interesting advancements of watches that they're coming out with. So if you don't know Autodromo, check them out. If you don't know the groovy Series 2 automatic watch, check it out. It's actually relatively affordable. I think it's under $1,000 US dollars, so you should so it's approachable for most watch collectors. The last watch, and this is a watch company that I stumbled across recently, and I think this is this company is really it's a testament to what independent watchmaking can do and what they stand for. So the company is called Armband. There are two founders, Serge Michel and Claude Greisler, and essentially there was a watchmaker named Armband. He was based in Bergdorf, and in 1984 at Baselworld, he released the first watch that bore the names Armband on it, and he then approached Serge Michel to take over the watch, to take over the company and continue its success. And that's exactly what they do. I believe they're now located in Biel, Switzerland. So I think that's where they're based out of. And the watch that I'm going to be talking about today is the Gravity Equal Force watch. So this watch is, just to give you some basics, it's a 41mm stainless steel watch. It runs on the ASB 19 movement, in-house movement created by Armband. And just to give you some background about what technically this watch is attempting to do. So when you wind a watch, there's actually a regular force that's delivered from the mainspring to the balance wheel. When the watch is fully wound, the torque that is delivered from the mainspring to the balance wheel is extremely high. So you're getting really high amounts there. But as the power reserve wanes and power reserve decreases, the torque actually decreases with it. So this is delivering different amounts of power to the mainspring. What ends up happening is, because of the differing amounts of torque, this has an effect on the rate that the balance wheel is actually oscillated in. This kind of changes accuracy of the watch. So this watch actually takes the mainspring barrel and adds this thing they call a D-clutch, a stopwatch D-clutch, to consistently deliver power to the balance wheel at the same rate. There's essentially a mechanism inside of the balance wheel that limits the torque that's sent to the balance wheel, so equal force is delivered throughout the entire power reserve of the watch. So technically this is really advancing watchmaking and how power is delivered throughout the watch. That's one of the reasons why I really love this watch, is because it's a new technique within watchmaking, which is something that is super important, especially because I want this era of watchmaking to be one of ingenuity, and one where we're coming up with new ways of watchmaking. So really love this watch from them. If you look at the watch just aesthetically, like I said, it's a 41mm stainless steel watch. Offset at 9 o'clock, you can see the time indicator, or the dial of the watch, and then you see the mechanism on the right side. If you turn it over, it's also a really beautiful view of the mechanism, and it has a really industrial design motif to it, especially with the way in which the case finishing is done. So I really love this watch. If you don't know Armband, you should actually read about some of their other watches. This one in particular, the Gravity Equal Force watch, is a really cool example for them. So be sure to check that one out. I hope you enjoyed this video where we discussed 3 watch companies and 3 watches that you probably haven't heard of. Just to reiterate them, it's Schwarz-Etienne with the to the 70s, then Autodromo with the Group B Series 2 automatic, and then Armstrong with the Gravity Equal Force. I'll put links in the description to these watches so you can check them out more in depth on the company's websites. Also, if you didn't do it in the beginning of the video, and I say it every single time, be sure to smash that like button for us. Let us know in the comment section below which one of these watches you liked a lot. And be sure to check us out on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and most recently TikTok, and subscribe to the channel. And with that said, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, and until next time.